Liverpool 2, Everton 0. Liverpool win this Merseyside derby at Anfield in this crunch match for both sides. Before I go into it, of course, I have to say, Wagwan, everyone. I hope you're doing well and welcome to this another stream up on Tereak Talks, guys. This is a match reaction. It's not my first match reaction, but it's the first one that I've done in a while. And I thought I'm going to be able to bring these to you now for the week and give you a lot more different content up on the channel. But we'll start off with this one first. And at the end, I'll let you know what's to come. So, Liverpool winning by 2-0, as you can see from the thumbnail and title. Origi does it again. Steps up in a huge moment for Liverpool Football Club in the Merseyside derby again. I'm sure you guys remember that 2-1 victory at Anfield. That was the year they won the league, wasn't it? Was it the year that they won the league? I believe it was. But yeah, Divock Origi again helping Liverpool's quest for a quadruple continue, and Everton, given the results in the earlier on today with Burnley beating Wolves, which we'll go into in tomorrow's show in the Premier League roundup and the review show. But Everton are now in the relegation zone. And I heard on the TV when I was watching it for the first time since 2019. So dangerous times. And with how many left, with 6 games left to go for Everton, it's not a good predicament. But we'll talk about the game. I'll give you my full-time summary right now. And guys in the chat, big up to everyone. Before I go into it, let me just say hello to G Staffy right here, telling you guys to smash the like button and putting in the link to the Discord server if you guys are wanting to join. Moss is in the place. Big up to yourself, Moss. Luke is in here. I'm doing good, thank you. I hope you're doing good too, my bro. And yes, and everyone else watching afterwards, I hope you're keeping well. And I hope you enjoy this. And let me know your thoughts in the comments. So, for the first half, I'm sure you guys who watched the game, it wasn't pretty for the neutral, and I don't think either side felt comfortable at any point really in that game. Maybe once Liverpool scored that first goal, but in the first half, Liverpool struggled to create chances, and I think I have to give praise to Everton here because Everton, with Frank Lampard, he set them out with a back four to be very narrow and compact, which left spaces in the wide areas. And in particular for the wide forwards in Mohamed Salah, he had plenty of space out there. But the wingers of Everton in Anthony Gordon and Damari Gray, they were tasked to keep an eye on the likes of Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold throughout that game. And let me bring up the lineups for you there so you can kind of see this is how the formation was played, with Anthony Gordon out to the left. He kept an eye on Trent Alexander-Arnold defensively, and Damari Gray was helping marshal Andy Robertson in that first half. And they played a real narrow and compact team, Everton, with Decore, Alan, Iwobi in the midfield, Richarlison dropping deep, and then the wingers almost acting like wing backs. So it's kind of like a 6 at the back formation, which I know anti-football people might say, but with the position and predicament that Everton are in, you can understand where they thought the danger areas was, with Liverpool in their their fullbacks, who play like wing backs in Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. They were marshaled. Trent was getting inside a little bit more. He wasn't going down the outside, because Liverpool didn't quite have a focal point. And with that compactness, I feel like Mane, he was playing centrally, he would have struggled to get any aerial and create any aerial threat. And Diogo Jota, who we know who's quite good in the air as well as Mane. But there were so many players there with Decore, Alani Iwobi, also deep and compact. It was difficult for Liverpool to create chances in that moment. But you have to give credit to Everton and their players for sticking with the manager, because it did frustrate Liverpool, and we saw that towards the end of the first half in that game, in this game, when there was that incident with Mane and Alan where there was a hand in the face and the referee gave a yellow card. It was borderline, though. It was close, because if there was a little bit more aggression into that, Mane could have seen worse than a yellow card. And the fans in Anfield, I was listening to it on the TV, you could hear them growing frustration with the likes of Richarlison and Gordon. So Everton, that's what they set out to do. That was their task, and they did that well in the first half. What else have I got written down? I've got some notes here. This is the first one I've done in a while. But Liverpool, as the first half went on, they noticed that the space was out in that right channel in particular. with Salah up against Mykolenko. However, Salah did receive it a few times, but Mykolenko, throughout 90% of this game, was outstanding. He was dealing with Salah with the 1v1s. He couldn't get past him. Mykolenko was doing excellent in that first half and one of Everton's best players for sure in this game. So it was nice. It was interesting to see that battle go on that right-hand side, and Mykolenko was tasked and trusted to deal with Salah, Gordon helping him out on a few occasions too, when there was an overload trying to be created with Trent or with Keita coming over to make like a triangle over there. But Mykolenko dealt with Salah excellently in the first half. He was outstanding. Joel Matip, as you can see, he's playing in that right centre-back position, but almost in this game, he was like a right central midfielder. And Joel Matip, he was so far forward. Even Fabinho, he wasn't in his normal sitting in that middle, trying to just sweep everything and progress the ball to the likes of Thiago, to the likes of Keita. They were trying to overload Everton in that midfield to try and get more players in and around so that they can have more space on the outside. So if they and Matip was playing balls forward, but it just wasn't quite working because of the sheer amount of players in midfield for Everton. And yeah, look at the yellow cards. You can see Alan and Doucouré, they were very physical in there. Alan winning with his tenacity, trying to work around. But Everton, they couldn't keep a hold of the ball. And I'm going to show you in terms of the statistics in this game. They were just trying to be a threat on the counter-attack. That was clear to see with the likes of Gray, Richarlison, Gordon, all very willing runners. But I'm going to show you the possession stats right now on screen. I'm not sure if you can quite see it, but it was 83% possession for Liverpool, which actually was the highest possession, Liverpool's highest percentage of possession since they played, who was it now, Cardiff or something like that. But this was the highest that they've had since 2016-17 season, which very much shows you, if you didn't watch the game, that's how it went. And it was ridiculous, like the amount of possession that Liverpool did have. But yeah, Matip, he was like a central midfielder at points, who had a fantastic game as well, and really putting out the fire in a lot of Everton's counter-attacks where they were trying to spring. And Everton did have some threat going forward with Gray, Richarlison, Gordon, very willing runners. And with Liverpool's high line, they definitely, there was space to attack, but Matip was putting out fires left, right and centre. Excellent performance from Joel Matip. And this is it. I've got the statistics right here. Joel Matip made 6 tackles against Everton, which was the joint most that he has ever made in the Premier League. Big up Squawker up on Twitter. I reckon you go follow them people for some good statistics if you've got that eye. But yeah, the centre-back won 100% of his 6 ground duels. So he didn't lose one at all. Had Richarlison in his back pocket. But having said that, I did say Everton did have some moments where they were scaring Liverpool. And in the first half, I'm going to talk about this big incident right now. And in the 23rd minute, Gordon goes down in the box, but the ref said no penalty. Initially, when I saw it, I thought the referee pointed to the spot, but he actually decided that, and he thought that Anthony Gordon dived. For me, it's a tight one, because initially when you see it, it looks like a penalty, hands down for sure. But the referee made the right decision in the end. There was contact, so I can understand why Gordon felt hard done by deemed that it was a dive. However, there was nowhere near enough contact for him to go down like that. And in my eyes, that's a dive, and it's never a penalty. And VAR was never going to overturn it because, with the clear and obvious error ruling, it certainly wasn't a penalty in my eyes. But yeah, that just showed one of the few occasions that Everton did get into the box and cause Liverpool problems. It was there. And then also in the first half, Doucouré had an effort which he dragged wide. But I think that was well marshalled by Virgil van Dijk. And yeah, was trying to get in there in the few occasions when Everton had the ball. They tried to progress it forward quickly into their front forward players. But Liverpool overall dealt with them well but I will have to say, Anthony Gordon, my word, that left-hand side, Gordon and Mykolenko, that was the best area of the pitch for Everton. Gordon was certainly their outlet, and I'll get later on talk about this later on in the stream about Anthony Gordon. I can see big up Graham in the place saying, rating Gordon as well. He is a tasty player. Indeed, he was very skillful as well, going past them a few times. Trent Alexander-Arnold got himself a booking, as you can see right here, and that was for a challenge on Anthony Gordon after he carried Everton up the pitch. He was immense for them in this game, especially for the game plan that Frank Lampard set out. And they did frustrate Liverpool. We have to be honest, they did. But the second half, and now the second half came about, Liverpool were having more possession. It was more of the same in that way. But Liverpool didn't actually start the second half well. I thought Everton, in the minutes between 50 and 60 in particular, they were growing in the game. There was confidence. There was chances. And in the 53rd minute, people, in the 53rd, sorry, was it the 56th minute? Actually, no, it was the 53rd minute, apologies. Gordon goes down in the box. And for me, Liverpool were fortunate here. It was, if you go, guys, I would recommend you to go and check this out because Gordon is now running down this left-hand channel. If you don't know, I'll describe it for you. Gordon's running down in this left-hand channel into the box and Liverpool's high line. Matip is there chasing him. He's caught him up, but there's a little shove in the back. And I know Liverpool fans, you're going to be saying, no, it's not enough contact for a penalty, yada, yada, yada. But he's running at extreme pace and Gordon is actually in front of Matip, and a little shove, a little knock like that will take you off balance. And for me, that's a foul. And Everton were unfortunate not to get a penalty. So Joel Matip, even though he had an excellent game, he quite fortunate not to be given away a penalty. And Matt G also coming in saying Mane should have had a red card if that was Xhaka for the incident with the hand on the face that I mentioned. Yeah, big up Matt G. I mentioned about that. I thought it was just a yellow card because there wasn't just enough force or aggression for it to be given more than that. But he was treading a fine line. I do agree. But yeah, Everton, they're going to come out of this game and say, we're unfortunate not to get a penalty. And they can hold their heads high in terms of this one-off performance. But the predicament Everton are in isn't because of performances like they put today. If Everton put performances like they did today in terms of not necessarily quality, but in how they work and how the manager sets them up and the threats that they did and the energy that they showed, Everton wouldn't be in this predicament because they still do have quality in the likes of Richarlison, Doucouré, Alan, Gordon, who's showing it now. Gray has those magnificent goals, which I saw as an Arsenal fan against us. And defensively, that's been their issue. They were a lot more sound today. Yes, they had more bodies in and around, but they dealt with them well. Michael Keane, who came in for the injured Ben Godfrey, who was injured in the warm-up, in fact. He came in and he had a solid performance for the majority, but I'll get into when we talk about the goals. But before I do that, there was another chance 3 minutes later, as I said, in that 50 to 60th minute period, Everton were in the ascendancy and they were the better side. That was their best moment of the game because earlier on, later towards the first half, from like 40th minute to 45th, that's when Liverpool was starting to get closer into the box in the final third, not really creating any chances of note. And they kind of started the second half like that in the first 5 minutes, but then Everton just seemed to gain in confidence. And that made Jurgen Klopp make this substitution. But before I go into the substitution, Gordon actually had a chance in the 56th minute, but it was similar to the Doucouré effort. It was difficult. It's one of their few chances that they had in the game. Can't get it on target. Drags it wide with his weaker foot. But as I said, the substitutions that Jurgen Klopp made in the 60th minute, bringing on Divock Origi and Luis Diaz, who both had an outstanding cameo, if you're thinking about it. A manager's dream to be having players come off like that and perform in the way that they did, because they came on at 0-0. And we know Divock Origi's record against Liverpool. We know Divock Origi steps up in these big moments. He's a big game player, even though he doesn't get many minutes for Liverpool in the Carabao Cup and in how they won it. He was a massive figure for them, and he scored plenty of goals in the earlier rounds. And we've seen him against Newcastle, Everton, in the Champions League final, Barcelona, do it once and again. And that substitution in the 60th minute, it was a problem for Everton. And 2 minutes later, he's involved in the goal that puts Liverpool 1-0 up. And that was a fantastic goal. Because it was one of the few moments where Mykolenko was beaten by Salah, and it was Mykolenko. So the ball starts out wide with Salah, and Mykolenko's, he's probably feeling it in his legs. They played a game earlier on in the week against Leicester, and that was a very taxing game, given that 90th minute equaliser from Richarlison. So they had a taxing performance in this game as well. As I said, 83% possession for Liverpool in this game. And in terms of passes as well, just to show you like the comparison of how many passes each team made, have a look right there. Liverpool made 783, Everton 169. That gives you an outlook if you never watched the game, but it was just ridiculous. And that moment, Mykolenko was a bit slow to get out to Salah, but Origi offers himself in the box. Salah plays a ball into Origi from that right channel inside, to near the front post, where Origi's holding off the defender, lays it off for Salah, who puts an excellent dinked cross in the back post. It evades Jota, but then Andy Robertson, with a fantastic header at the back post, gave Liverpool the lead. And that was vital. That was huge for Liverpool in this game, because they needed that goal. And once they got that goal, I think Liverpool at Anfield, they felt confident. And that was a real sucker punch, a gut punch for Everton in this game. And really after that, the game kind of got stretched. It opened up a little for Liverpool, and Everton were trying to progress forward. They didn't really create any chances of note. They had a half chance with Demarai Gray, who took a speculative effort outside the box, which got Alisson scrambling across his goal. But really, at Liverpool, they took control, and they showed why they are one of the best teams in the world. We have to admit it, people. It's honesty. Like Man City and Liverpool, they are two of the best teams in the world right now, for sure. It was fantastic to see in terms of how they ease out the game once they take control of it. It was nerve-wracking at times. Only 4 shots on target for Liverpool. They scored 2 of them. But yeah, that first goal from Robertson was important, and he actually made a goal-saving interception too. I know they didn't have too many chances, Everton, but Dele Alli got in down Liverpool's right and Everton's left. That's where the trouble was being caused. And Dele Alli puts a ball across, trying to find Iwobi, but Andy Robertson with a goal line. But it's not a goal line block, but a goal-saving interception and getting it clear. And that was vital. And that's the thing with Liverpool. They have the quality and they have the big players to step up in these moments, whereas Everton clearly do not, given the position that they are in the league. But that's just Liverpool's quality. Not many teams have this individual quality to be able to create and score from your defenders. Liverpool getting goals from Robertson and Origi in this game. Not the usual suspects in Salah, Mane, Diaz, Jota, even Thiago, even Fabinho scored a couple of long-range beauties. So yeah, that's just the thing. That's just with Liverpool, and it helps them march on into this title running. So yeah, I thought it was fantastic how Liverpool saw it out. But before I wrap it up, and in terms of my thoughts, I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the chat and in the comments if you're watching afterwards. 2-0, 85th minute, Divock Origi. So this came from a set piece, and Liverpool had a lot of corners in this game. I'm going to find out how many corners they did have. 13 corners to Everton's 1, and 10 of those corners came in the second half. So that showed when it was being pressed, Jurgen Klopp got into them. So they got into the final third a lot more and tried to cause problems. And this came from an outswinging corner from the left from Robertson. He works its way all the way out to the other side where Henderson is. He crosses the ball to the back post. Luis Diaz tries a bicycle kick. But for me, Dele Alli and Michael Keane, they were the ones at fault in this one in terms of how they weren't marshalling and they were ball watching as Divock Origi peels into the back post and nods the ball in for a massive goal for Liverpool. And that kind of eased any late concerns that the Liverpool fans may have had. So yeah, it wasn't a great game to watch from a neutral's perspective, but I was watching, analysing, taking down notes on this piece of paper right here and thinking, you know what, this is interesting because this is a game of mentality from both sides, where it's going to take concentration levels, fight, and in different ways, because we know there's clear favourites in Liverpool and Everton. Like Liverpool were the favourites in this game. Everton, they were, they set their stall out from early on, but they just couldn't hold on. And the key moments, if you don't have the luck where they should have had a penalty and arguably a red card, which Matt G and Moss are both saying, yeah, it don't fall your way, and Liverpool march on. Big up to everyone who's watching. Hope you've enjoyed this match reaction. Make sure you smash that like button if you haven't done so already, if you're watching afterwards. It's something new, and it's something that's going to be coming a lot more throughout this week in terms of match reactions, preview shows. I'll be bringing you news updates if any news is coming through and breaking. But yeah, fantastic performance. Well, not really a fantastic performance. Sorry, a fantastic result for Liverpool, and a gut punch for Everton in this Merseyside derby. But let's see what you guys are saying right now. Luke is saying Liverpool for me. I only watched the first half. Yeah, and the first half wasn't great. So the second half, Liverpool came out a little bit more and got closer to the box. I think the tactical change was that Jurgen Klopp told Liverpool and got in players more inside the area and inside these half spaces that you see in these channels that they like to work with their central midfielders. And I thought Robertson and Trent, they maintain the width, and that kind of pinned back Everton's threats in their wingers. So I thought that was a good change for them to make. Thiago was being a bit more influential, not so deep in the second half as he was in the first. So yeah, and trying to cause and getting in and around and just causing Everton panic stations around the back. But they held up well until that moment where Robertson was free at the back post. Amari Gray not tracking his runner. So yeah, I just thought it was the pressure told in the end in that game. But guys, I'm going to wrap this up here. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on these short match reactions. I'm going to be bringing you a lot more of these bits and bobs in terms of content. But I'm going to end this one now for you. And this is the question I'm going to say, and what I want you to get in the comments. Who is going to win the league? Liverpool or Manchester City? I'll bring you a lot more of a breakdown for the Man City game and all the other Premier League fixtures tomorrow. I know there is still one more, Crystal Palace versus Leeds, but I'll bring you the weekend's roundup. So people, love for tuning in. I hope you're all keeping good. And yeah, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and we are out. Peace. If I can just find it, there it is. Peace, people.